So, I think I need some help understanding this new system, the inversion reinforcement, which I just unlocked. And I haven't been following this game, so I don't understand. I don't know what's entailed in anything to do with the new update. But this is supposed to be a thing that buffs your character externally from your, your build and all that kind of stuff. But I don't know whether it's the language, the translation, or anything like that. But it's so goddamn confusing and complex that it doesn't make me interested in trying to figure out what it was. So for instance, let's look at this very first perk here. Now, I believe you need to unlock all of the ones that are in a row to get the big buff at the end. And I don't know what materials you need to actually unlock them, but I'm assuming it's got something to do with this 0 out of 2000. If you go to highlight one of these, it says energy required to unlock 1. I don't know how you get that right now. That's not why I'm interested though. I have 1 remaining energy, so I can unlock something here. Now, biodensity augmentation. When defeating an enemy, so every time you kill an enemy, grants biodensity augmentation. What this does is it increases your max HP by plus 4.7% and your defense by minus 0.9% for 30 seconds. This is confusing language because that tells me that you are losing defense. If your defense is getting minus 0.9%, that is a lower number. So I am just thoroughly confused by the language of this. It seems like when you read it, you get 1 big buff for a nerf of some kind. But because the numbers are green, minus 0.9%, it's telling me that the defense is increased. That should be max HP plus 4.7% and defense plus 0.9%. Because of the fact that that's how just language works, you see that the max HP is increasing plus 4.7%. Defense should also read the same as max HP if it's a buff. But what I think it's written as is defense minus 0.9% is the increase in reducing the damage due to the defense changing, if that makes sense. So I assume that this is a buff all around. So with this system, I believe you can unlock everything here on the board, but you can only activate 3 things at a time. So if this is true, every time you defeat an enemy, you'll get plus 4.7% increase and defense increase up to 5 stacks for 30 seconds. There's also the same here for shield instead of HP. So if you have both of these equipped and they work in the sense that defense is increased as well, this is going to turn you into a powerhouse. You're going to be able to just run in and destroy things and defeat things. However, if this is what I read it as, where the defense lowers, but you get max shield increase and max HP increase, which I don't think it is, but the way it's written, that's what my brain goes to, then the increase in shield and HP is not worth it with the defense going down. It's a very weird, complex way of doing it, and the UI doesn't help, right? And this is one of the gripes that I have. Everything there is just a block of text. Yeah, there's some color in there, but it's just so unnecessary. It just doesn't make sense. So let's look at this one, and I believe this one also is a nerf. So when defeating an enemy, grants neural focus augmentation. You get a big increase to your max MP, but your skill effect range is minus 1% for 30 seconds up to 5 stacks. So that seems like a huge nerf as well, just for a little bit of MP. It is so complex to understand. I just don't I don't get it. I don't understand why this system's in the game if it's supposed to be like a buff system. I don't get it, man. I don't get it. You can argue that they've written the defense wrong here, and they're looking at it from a different point of view, like I said, but you cannot explain why skill effect range says minus 1%, because that to me just says skill effect range is going down. And I'm all for a system where if you get a big buff, you should get a little nerf as well. I think that makes things interesting. However, max MP plus 3% isn't worth the skill effect range going down. It just isn't. I use Valby, I use cleanup, I get my water spread out as far as I can. Why would I want to nerf that down just to get a bit of extra MP when I've never really struggled for MP anyway in this game? When defeating an enemy, grants whatever that's called, defense plus 3.2% and max HP minus 0.9%. So now when you look at it, this is the complete opposite of what we saw at the start. So that now tells me, with this one specifically, that this one is an increase to HP and then your defense goes down. So let's just say you picked that one and you also equip that one. They're gonna cancel each other out and you'll just be back to normal. If you wanted to just increase your defense, then your HP is going down. It's just so weird and complex. Like, I don't understand why this is in the game. If you unlock them all and then you choose the enhanced pain suppression, incoming damage modifier minus 4.1%. That makes more sense in my brain. That tells me that, you know, your defense, or you're not your defense, but you're going to take less damage. That's probably the easiest and simplest way to say it. You're going to take less damage while you have this equipped. So if you had this on, and then you also had this and this, it doesn't matter how far your defense goes down, because you're getting an increase in HP, you're getting an increase in shield, but you're also getting less damage from all incoming sources. But to use all three of your slots on those, I feel like the increase, the buff that you're supposed to be getting is so minimal that it's not worth it. Let's look at attribute. So I'll try and fly through these. After reloading, you get a fire resistance buff, but your skill cost goes up. Why would I want my skill cost to go up? Now, I assume, like, if you're going to fight something like Pyromancer, you could probably equip this and then find another way of reducing your skill cooldown, skill cost, sorry. But it does not seem worth it. A plus 2.6%. Most of the Void Intercept bosses are like, you need like 1300% bloody resistance. 2.6 is nothing. Again, for here, same thing, but it's chill resistance. Then we've got toxic resistance, but with the toxic resistance, you lose firearm attack and explosive attack. So me as a Valby, why would I want this? Because my firearm attack goes down while using supply moisture. Again, here, skill critical hit goes down by 3.2% for a little bit of electric resistance. A tiny bit. You're actually getting more of a nerf here than you are a buff. Unless I'm just reading this wrong. Then for the big one, we have all resistance, all attribute resistance plus 10%. That's fine if you wanted to pick that, but resistance isn't needed in this game. I have played some of the hardest bosses without having any resistance on my character whatsoever, and completed them. Recovery, I've read this one. This is a fairly decent track of abilities, and I think, like, if I was going to build into anything, it would be this. If hit while at 10% or HP or less and do not die, you will consume all of your MP and recover HP proportionately to the amount of MP consumed. So if you have full MP, you're going to probably get all your health back, or at least 50%, because it says down here recovery of between 20 and 50%. So it's a good way of surviving, you know. Pretty decent ability, and it doesn't seem like there's that much of a nerf. You know, you're going to lose all your MP, but you can run around and collect things and get your MP back. Then we have selective neurostimulation. Grants one of the following 3 effects every 60 seconds. So while you're playing, regardless, it's passive. Every 60 seconds, you're either going to get a 60% chance to get 8.9% of your max MP back. There's a 30% chance to get 15% back, and a 10% chance to get 20% back. So if you wanted to equip this and you got to use all your MP, this is going to get you your MP back anyway. So these two perks go hand in hand without much of a nerf. Then we have this one here. While using your grapple hook, you basically get some of your shields back. But it says here, when using your grappling hook, incoming damage modifier plus 13%. So you're going to take way more damage while using your grappling hook to get a tiny bit of shields back. This is how I'm reading it. I can't read it any other way. This is just what it seems like to me. That to me isn't worth it. It's just not worth it at all. Like 13% increase to use your grappling hook. You're going to take so much damage that getting 2.5% of shields every 0.1 seconds just doesn't seem like it's going to negate itself. I guess it's got some uses, but I don't know, man. Something just doesn't sit right with me with this system. When an ally is nearby, you get RK assimilation every 0.5 seconds, and basically it lasts for 2 seconds and recovers HP by 10% of max HP upon reaching max stacks, up to 10 stacks. I mean, that's just a whole bunch of words, but assuming when your allies are nearby, you can recover HP basically, which is great. You know, in that final boss room, you're always going to have allies around you, so getting your health back definitely useful. So again, the recovery track seems pretty good to me. When landing a firearm critical hit, has an 18% chance to grant this buff, which removes debuffs for 3 seconds and grants you debuff immunity for the duration. As a Valby supply moisture player, I'm going to be looking for those firearm critical hits. This is a decent buff, but again, don't think it's really needed. Like, I've never really struggled with something like this in the game before. It's just a very tiny little ability on top of the things that you're already doing. When it comes to survival, when HP is 20% or less during intercept battles only, you get all movement speeds pushed up to 20%, and then firearm attack and explosive attack down by 32%. This is just so you can get out of trouble, basically get out of dodge. It's fine, but you know, I guess it helps with not going down in intercept battles as easy anyway. So that's a fine buff, whatever. So this one here, when attacking the Legion of Immortality, grants secondary quantization response. Why can't they just make these things easy instead of having these stupid complex names? Decreases incoming damage modifier by -15% for 5 seconds. This is where the language breaks down, because this is a double negative in my mind. So you decrease the incoming damage modifier by, and it should be 15%. If it's a buff, should be 15%. There shouldn't be a -15% because you've already said decreases. So this is confusing as hell. I'm assuming while attacking, you just get, you know, a buff to not being taken as much damage. That's the way I understand it. Then you get the same here for Order of Truth, and you get the same for Legion of Darkness. The big buff here is during intercept battle, grants void defense optimization every 150 seconds, which decreases the damage that you're taking, which is also fine as well if you want that little bit of protection in intercept battles. You know, it's not a bad buff whatsoever. Then we have the seasonal one, which is also a pretty decent track of abilities. During the Order of Truth invasion, which is what we're going to be playing probably a lot, you get identify energy source. Causes an additional hit when hitting the lesions attached to the arcade container with a firearm. So those little pillars that pop up and they have all stuff on it that you need to shoot off, you're going to do an extra couple of hits while shooting them. Then we have forced device connection. Stepping on an arcade tile, this is those little things that you can stand on that have bright colors on them, bright color symbols. You get an increase to your defense, and this is where I know I'm confused, because forced device connection says increases defense by +4.6%. That is correct language. But then when you go here, it says decreases incoming damage modifier by -15%. These are essentially side by side in what they do. They should reduce your incoming damage in some way, shape or form. But the text and the description is so bad that this seems more complex and convoluted than it needs to be, and it doesn't inspire me to want to actually do the inversion reinforcement track. When the Excava's energy grenade is at max stacks, grants displacement field, firearm attack +35% for 2 seconds, which is fine, but I'm assuming that this weapon is a specific ultimate weapon, the Excava, so you're just getting a buff to the ultimate weapon, that, or whatever weapon this is, you're just getting a buff specifically for that weapon, which is fine, can't really complain about that. When movement speed is 300 or less, I didn't even know there was a movement speed stat in this game, but you get pacemaker, decreases skill cost by -20%, skill effect range by -5%, and fire rate by -5%. So you, from what I'm reading here, your skills will cost less when your movement speed is lower, but what will happen is your skill effect range and your fire rate will go down. Oh, I'm so confused. Then we have this one here. Decreases the cooldown of your next skill by 8% when all skills are on cooldown. Very, very weird system. I can see that there's minimal buffs in here. A lot of them don't seem worth the potential negative effects from how I'm reading it. But honestly, all of this stuff in this list isn't needed whatsoever, because the things that they're buffing and changing with this, there was no problem with it prior in the game. I don't know. Let me know what I'm missing, if anything, from this. Are you confused by this as well? Let me know down below in the comments. But this does not inspire me to want to play the game, and I've been looking for a reason to play the game since I stopped playing it. But this is just, I don't know, man, just puts me off more than anything. I don't even want to finish the story. I just want to log off, because it's just like, what the hell is all this crap? Ay, ay, ay. Let me know what you think down below. Thank you for watching. I've been easynow. You guys have been awesome.